Fallout New Vegas was the next installment to the series after Fallout 3. While it shared many of the same assets, it also lacked a few, such as the unique energy weapon that could cause an NPC to go insane. I seek to answer the pointless question of, can you beat Fallout New Vegas with only the Mesmetron? Only will be subjective. Using the Tale of Two Wastelands mod, we begin the game in Fallout 3. So instead of a new game, we're going to reload our character from the Can You Beat Fallout New Vegas with Only a Chinese Pistol run. Once more, Paul Mitten Squad will be traveling from the capital Wasteland into the Mojave Desert. I traveled to Megaton and traded with Doc Hoff. His prices weren't ideal, but at least it's still cheaper than the modern American healthcare system. Lucas Sims wanted me to defuse the big bomb in the center of town. Still amazed that people decided to build a town around an atomic bomb. By the end of the day, who am I to judge? We all do weird things. Like these guys like to build their homes next to an active bomb that could blow up at any moment, fair enough. And personally, I enjoy hitting my punching bag and imagining that it is Franklin the Turtle. Not because I dislike Franklin or anthropomorphic cartoon turtles, but because Franklin somehow looks more like Senator Mitch McConnell than Senator Mitch McConnell does. It's crazy, dude. Anyways, I decided to pull myself up by the bootstraps and got a temporary job repairing water pipes. This didn't last long though. As it turns out, my job of repairing the pipes became obsolete once I repaired all the pipes. It's a vicious cycle. Megaton had nothing else to offer me, and like the father figure you never had, I dipped before they had a chance to miss me. My new destination is Paradise Falls, in hopes of receiving the Mesmetron. I ran into Dusty of Big Town. He hassled me by engaging in mediocre small talk. What a fucking dick. I swore vengeance for this microaggression, and went on my merry way, plotting my eventual revenge. This man here is Grouse. He is the gentleman that will enable all of the sociopathic trends you will bear witness to for this video. If you're not familiar with this weapon, it's an experimental energy weapon that is used in Fallout 3 with the purpose of enslaving. It's a pretty fucked up concept. Essentially, when I point and shoot at someone, it turns their brain into a smoothie for a bit. There's a few different outcomes that can occur from using this weapon. First, it could stun them. From my experience, this is completely exclusive to Fallout 3. Once I brought the Mesmetron to New Vegas, I never got this effect. Second, it could cause the victim to frenzy. This is an effect that I canonically just think of as extreme gaslighting. With this gun, I will be the intrusive thoughts that cause you to snap. Or third, they Kurt Cobain. Is it insensitive to use Kurt Cobain as a verb? Absolutely, but YouTube has been cracking down on violence, and I'm worried that using the actual term could upset Big Red. After taking care of Dusty, I went after the other members of Big Town. I was enacting my unholy justice on these undeserving innocent folks. Dusty met a sad fate, but Flash would meet a worse one. Unfortunately for him, I needed money. The Mesmetron's ammo comes in packs of 10 for 200 caps. So for every person I sent to Paradise Falls, I can make quite a bit of caps that help afford the unique energy cells. I went on a spree using the Mesmetron on the caravans, in hopes of peacefully acquiring their goods that I may resell. Additionally, I wanted to see if I could enslave Stockholm, Megaton's watchful guard who you can't reach through conventional means. I don't think the weapon has any real effect on him. While I was here, I decided now Megaton did have some things to offer me. Jericho would be necessary at some point for getting to New Vegas. I'll explain later. But also the people. I'd either enslave them or frenzy them, but either way I was gonna take their shit and make money. I'd need some more evil karma to convince Jericho that I was cool enough for him, so I administered some good old mercy killing to some sleeping patients. Despite my seemingly misguided actions, I'm not a monster. If I was sending these patients to hell, of course I'd send their doctor with them too. I'm psychotic, not unreasonable. Lucas Sims was next. I wanted his duster, even though I'd never wear it. Doc Hoff made a sizable donation, and his personal guard decided to help the cause. I walked up on a scavenger with a pet Yaogwai. He told me I couldn't sandwich the robot he found. Now personally, I wasn't gonna let that slide, you know? So I slapped an explosive collar on him and fucking ran. That Yaogwai was gonna kill me. His bear dog chased me towards my next victim, Arkansas, a sniper camped out in Minefield. I don't actually need to capture him, but it's a good idea to stock up on camps and experience before I travel to Vegas. Upon gaining entry into Paradise Falls, I opted to assist the children in escaping, which was easy enough, until Penny over here decided to have a heart and refused to leave unless Roy got out. Roy didn't get out. He never stood a chance, so I lied to the kid and said Roy went to the generic farm your family dog did when you were a child. After freeing the little chitlins from their cages, I went to the Lollipop Guild and recruited Sticky. He was kicked out because he got old. Sorry Sticky, but that's just life. Everything is downhill from here, but I'll keep you safe. Quick side note, I don't count having companions as a violation of the challenge. Kills performed by companions do not add to my personal kill stat in the Pip-Boy. My only other alternative to companions would have been to spam the stores and raid them for a near infinite supply of stim packs. After Sticky, we finally got Jericho to join in on our fun adventures. Now that I had my band of merry ne'er-do-wells, I knew it was time to utilize their life force for my own means and intentions. I needed them for killing the super mutants in DC guarding the metro to New Vegas. The Mesmetron is a great weapon if you're a piece of shit like me. Unfortunately, it really only affects human NPCs, so I needed my meat shield boys. Before going to DC, I liberated Paradise Falls, in the sense that me and the boys pulled up and liberated their heads from their bodies. Now it's time for our family trip to DC. On the way, I saw another scavenger with the Yaogwai. I turned the other way and never looked back. At this point, I was trying to remember the exact way to the metro, but I couldn't remember, and the game didn't have memory of it either. I ran into the Brotherhood of Steel before they became the antagonist of later titles, stole the armor from a dead man and gave it to Sticky, along with the super sledge. I take care of my boys. After finding the metro station, I went to buy some more Mesmetron ammo. Apparently Grouse didn't like that I killed his employer and co-workers. This isn't too big of a problem. If I'm being honest, I wasn't gonna be going between games every time I needed more ammo. We're gonna utilize console commands later on to remove caps from my inventory and spawn ammo. Fighting hordes of super mutants can be troublesome, but Jericho and Sticky did a fine job defending me while I went around trying to restore power to the station. The doors finally opened and I rushed to the train. I got my ticket and boarded on what would be a 3-year journey. 3 years traveling with Jericho and Sticky. We had built quite a bond. However, their usefulness had run out. I told Sticky that I lied to him. I never had any intention of leading him to Big Town, and he was just a pawn to me. I had him return everything I gave him and everything he had owned prior to our time together, and he walked off into the desert. Jericho just retired to the Atomic Wrangler, where he would spend his days getting drunk. Honestly, it's probably a happier life for him here than in Megaton. Now I will demonstrate how I will be using console commands to spawn ammo. I will be following the vanilla pricing of 10 pieces of ammo for 200 caps. Here you can see I type the command player.remove item, the ID for bottle caps, and the quantity. For 400 caps, I spawn in 20 pieces of ammo. At this point, I wasn't entirely sure if the Mesmetron would work on New Vegas NPCs. I tested it on Chet, but without any head explosions or stunning, I couldn't tell if it was working. If it didn't work, I was gonna have to opt for a pacifist run. But as a spur-of-the-moment decision, I got bored and shot Sunny Smiles with it, and she began attacking her best friend. That's when a smile crept upon my face, realizing this playthrough can still happen. I frenzied Joe Cobb and had the townspeople handle him, though they blamed his death solely on me. I walked out of the saloon with intent to begin Ringo's quest, and I saw Sticky and Easy Pete chatting it up. I'm positive someone somewhere has made fanfiction about this and are probably very ecstatic. If that person is you, post it under the comments and I'll do a reading. Ringo was hesitant about our ability to beat the Powder Gangers, but I reassured him that the powers of a male manipulator and gaslighter are infinite and knows no bounds. I convinced Sticky's newfound lover to give me his boomstick and also his dynamite. Doc Mitchell was also receptive to offering some medicine. It was during this battle I realized the full potential of the Mesmetron. I had brother turning on brother. A single piece of ammo could result in many deaths if I make it a well-placed shot. The real test would be how the Mesmetron handles Primm. In a room full of convicts, would I be victorious? Kind of. I believe you can spam the Mesmetron for the head blowing up effect, but each shot is expensive. So after most of the convicts were finished killing each other, Deputy Beagle stepped up as the father figure we never had. Ultimately, he disappointed though. He wouldn't take on the mantle of sheriff, and instead Slim Primm did. He wasn't our stepfather, but the father who stepped up. I'm sorry, that was a bad joke. I'm sorry. I abandoned Primm and pressed on towards Nipton, again testing the abilities of the Mesmetron. I chose Oliver Swanwick as my champion to thwart the Legion. That didn't last. I turned the Legion against each other. Volpez was driven mad and eventually driven to death. After his death, I decided to leave the last 2 Legion boys alone. They had enough to work out with each other, and I'm not a licensed therapist. I found out that apparently you can just damage a Raven. I always thought they only had 1 HP, so this was a cool little discovery. On my way to Novak, I ran into the NCR, and I was in some Legion armor. They immediately fired at me. Those soldier boys would someday regret this. At Novak, I ran into 2 whimsical men. They gave off a strange aura. Like one of them wanted to recruit me as a companion, and the other wanted to blow off my head if I accompanied them. It was odd. It was around this time I felt the grip of old age grasp around my neck. I had to take care of the responsibilities I had been ignoring. It's monorail time, baby. But first, I harassed the soldiers. Then I made my way to the Tom's Casino. I was weaponless, but I approached Benny still. He promised we could talk, but he dipped. Why do the men in my life always leave? I swore to hunt him down. Some Volpez cosplayer came to me outside the Tops. I bought some new armor and headed to Cottonwood Cove. Benny was tied up with his own mortality, and I had to go blow up Mr. House's underground bunker. The Mesmetron can't damage the generator, so I ended up using some grenades. Caesar was so impressed with me that he didn't kill me, and people say he's a bad guy. I had Benny crucified, but I didn't get footage of this because this is my story and he's not part of it. Next, I had to take care of the opposition. Mr. House was now Mr. Dead, though it did take a few tries. Even against a bag of bones like House, the Mesmetron doesn't do a lot of damage, so I opted to press every button on his computer until it did something. Caesar wanted me to go convince the boomers to aid him, but for no reason whatsoever I ended up going to Aerotech and talking to Frank Weathers. His family was enslaved and he abandoned them during their capture. I do one good deed a year to keep my karma somewhat balanced. I went and freed his family, saw a familiar face, and returned to Frank, but refused to elaborate on where they were. He got upset. I thought about the irony of sending him to Paradise Falls, but alas, the Mesmetron won't do that to New Vegas NPCs. I went to Goodsprings for supplies, but saw something so saddening that I don't know if I'll ever be able to go against Mr. House again. In Victor's home, I found a weapon repair kit for my Mesmetron. I swore on Victor's cold robotic corpse that I would complete this run as soon as possible and come home to him in a new playthrough. Now I had to make nice with the neighbors' weird kids. The boomers had to come to our side. I fixed up the solar array for Loyal, told Jack he's a grown-ass man and stop with this creepy long-distance crush bullshit. He told me I could make people happy by donating metal scrap, so I went to Sloan and relieved their generator of its parts and gave them to Jack. Then I got a history lesson from a child, and finally Pearl thought I was assimilated enough to take on some big boy tasks. I had to raise a plane out of a lake. Bullying Jack, I was able to receive the rebreather and went right into the water and used floaty devices to bring it up. The boomers were pleased. After this xenophobic group, I had to go find another xenophobic group that were surprisingly more aggressive than the previous one who tried to blow me up. The Brotherhood of Steel slapped a slave collar on me, I can appreciate the irony, and told me to kill an NCR ranger. I could not for the life of me get the Kurt Cobain option to occur. So instead, I snuck back into their bunker, used a stealth boy, stole their passcodes. Why did I say it like that? Stole their passcodes and the key to my collar and blew them up. And you know what? They deserve it. This chapter of the Brotherhood sucks. Caesar called me into his tent, but not for the reasons I was hoping for. He had informed me that there was something wrong with him. For a moment, I thought maybe he had some time to self-reflect. Maybe he denounced his sexist ways, stopped telling grown men to cosplay in high school football equipment, and he'd stop being such an incel. But no, he just had a tumor of some sort, and expected me to handle it. I went to the New Vegas clinic to see if they had anything I could steal, but apparently you need to pass a skill check in Caesar's tent for that. Instead, I went into a vault. Oh, thank you Sushi Boy 342 for subscribing. Everyone thank Sushi Boy 342. Vault 34 is full of feral ghouls. I had to run through it hoping to avoid getting hit too often, and I scavenged their auto dock, repaired Caesar's, and ultimately saved him. We're now nearing the end of this playthrough. I decided to bring Legion Mike with me to go assassinate the president of the NCR. I've heard through the grapevine he was looking to redeem himself in the eyes of Caesar. We waited for the helicopter to land. That's when I blasted their president with the Mesmetron. I had hoped that all his countrymen would turn on him, but instead I exploded him. There was a brief moment of confusion. That's when I knew I had to run, but Legion Mike stayed and fought the NCR while I escaped. He truly was my hero. With all that bullshit taken care of, the Battle of Hoover Dam was about to take place. I met the Legate and he ordered me to capture the dam. Who was I to say no to such a cute face? I mean, look at those puppy dog eyes. I removed the last of my caps and added some more ammo to my inventory. Surprisingly, this was probably the easiest time I've had taking Hoover Dam. In the minigun video, I had to worry about weapon condition and ammo count. With grenades, I had to be careful not to haphazardly cause friendly fire. But the Mesmetron was just a great time. Shoot once, run away, and there'll be some effect afterwards. I caused the NCR to repeatedly turn on each other, and our Legion boys were able to capitalize on the chaos. Running through the dam wasn't difficult either. I got to General Oliver with relative ease. As I was worried about hunting him down, a swarm of legionaries came bursting through the door, destroying General Oliver's first line of defense. I was able to pursue him freely. The traps were were a bit much, but luckily it made it difficult for the Rangers to maneuver too. Once I got upstairs, I got a shot on Oliver and his fate was sealed. I just had to take care of the power armor soldiers. But these men were not special. Their armor did not protect them from their brains becoming mush. I turned them against each other. It reminded me of the arena from The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. The memories. There was one NZR soldier left. I tried to lure him into a trap, but that failed. Instead, I led him into the swarm of legionaries that had assisted me earlier, and with that, I beat Fallout New Vegas with only the Mesmetron. Honestly, this was a much more enjoyable challenge than I had first anticipated. The Mesmetron made for a unique playstyle based on distraction and destruction. It was a fun time, and I highly suggest it for anyone who enjoyed the video. Likewise, I'd like to thank Mitten Squad, not only for being the man who popularized this form of content, but for doing this challenge in Fallout 3. Additionally, a big thank you to the team who made the Tale of Two Wastelands mod. It truly is amazing, and I recommend it entirely. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing. It helps the channel, and as does liking. I've been that fella, and you've been great.